You're listening to the Call Kent podcast, where Kent C. Dodds answers questions and gives insights to software engineers like you. Now, let's hear the call.
Hi, Ken. This is Devlin here in Madrid. I'm a huge fan. I've almost finished the React Performance workshop in your Epic React course. This is definitely the most time I've ever spent on a course since my degree, and it is absolutely time well spent. So thank you for that. I read your fully typed web apps article, and I have a question around how do you deal with partial types? For example, if you have different views of the workshop type on the front end. So one is a view which shows the full workshop with all of its details, but another is a list of all workshops in November or something. And let's say that the REST API that you're using returns a list of workshops with just their name and ID or something like that, instead of the initial REST API endpoint, which returns just one full workshop. And then what if we have a third view on the front end website, which shows a preview of the workshop, but it's more than just a name, but less than the full type. So let's say you've got like three different views: the full view of the workshop, the list of like a bunch of workshops, and then a preview which shows a little bit more. How do you deal on the front end with these three different types? So do you like name and define different types using things like pick and union in TypeScript? Or do you just stick with the one full version of the workshop, but make basically everything apart from its name optional, which maybe to me feels like it's defeating the purpose of having the type in the first place a little bit. Thanks for your thoughts. Bye.
And that was the call. Here's what Kent had to say.
Hey, Delvin, thank you so much for the kind words and for the question. This is a good one. What I would do is create three distinct types that are all based on the one main type, that's the workshop, that's like all of the details. And then the other two would be just using picks and potentially unions if there's like additional stuff just for that one type or something. But that's what I would do. Just use pick. It works out really nicely. And maybe a combination with partial, like maybe if I can't think of a good example of that, but if you need to make it optional in some cases, then that's what partial's for. So I would just use pick, and I'd say for the list display, it just needs the name, so I'd pick the name. And like some people would say, well, why don't you just make a type that has a name property and a string and whatever else, and just duplicate those types. And the reason I would use pick over just duplicating is because the code, when you're using pick, will signify to whoever's using it that this is actually the same thing as the name property of the workshop type. Like it's actually communicating something in the code, even though the end result is going to be the same type as if you just duplicated the type and just like the individual properties. I think it's useful to communicate that in how the code is written. So anyway, I would just use pick, and I think that answers your question. Thanks, and have a wonderful day.
This has been the Call Kent podcast. Learn more about Kent at kentcdodds.com and get your own questions answered at kentcdodds.com/calls.